7. Jack Avery II. The Jack Avery II was a French fishing vessel that ran aground on the Isle of Rum, Scotland on the 31st of January 2011. The vessel was on its way from Lochinver to its fishing grounds when it encountered heavy weather and lost control. The crew of 14 were rescued by a Coast Guard helicopter and a lifeboat, but the vessel was severely damaged and later declared a total loss. The Jack Avery II was built in 2005 and registered in Lorient, France. It was owned and operated by Scapèche SA, the British-based company that specialized in trawling for demersal fish off Scotland and Ireland. The vessel was one of the 3 sister ships that were based in Lochinver, northwest Scotland. It had a length of 151 feet, 46 meters, and weighed nearly 599 tons, 599,000 kilograms. The Marine Accident Investigation Branch, MAIB, conducted an investigation into the grounding of the Jack Avery II and published a report in July 2011. The report found that the main causes of the accident were poor bridge team management, inadequate passage planning, insufficient use of navigational aids, lack of awareness of the vessel's position, failure to monitor speed over ground, and ineffective communication between the master and crew. The report also made several recommendations to improve safety standards for fishing vessels operating in UK waters. 6. The Edmund Fitzgerald. The Edmund Fitzgerald shipwreck is one of the most famous and mysterious maritime disasters in American history. It occurred on November 10, 1975, when a massive storm sank the cargo ship in Lake Superior, killing all 29 crew members on board. The Edmund Fitzgerald was a 729-foot, 222-meter-long freighter that was built in 1958. It was named after the president of the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, which owned the ship. It was one of the largest and fastest ships on the Great Lakes, carrying iron ore, coal, grain, and other bulk cargo. It was well known for its distinctive look and sound, with a red and black hull, a white pilot house, and a deep whistle. On November 9, 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald departed from Superior, Wisconsin, with a load of 26,116 tons, 23,692,037 kilograms of taconite pellets bound for Detroit. It was accompanied by another freighter called the Arthur M. Anderson, which followed behind at a distance of about 10 miles, 16 kilometers. The 2 ships encountered a severe winter storm that had formed over the plains and moved eastward across Lake Superior. The storm produced hurricane-force winds of up to 86 miles per hour and waves of up to 35 feet high. The Edmund Fitzgerald struggled to maintain its course and speed in the face of the storm. It reported several problems, such as losing its radar antenna, taking on water through damaged vents and hatches, and listing to one side. The last communication from the ship was at 7:10 p.m. when its captain, Ernest McSorley, told Arthur M. Anderson's captain, Jesse Cooper, that they were holding their own. At 7:15 p.m., the Arthur M. Anderson lost sight of the Edmund Fitzgerald on its radar screen. The Edmund Fitzgerald sank suddenly and without sending any distress signals or mayday calls. It plunged to a depth of about 530 feet, 161.5 meters, near Whitefish Point in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. All 29 crew members perished in the sinking. Their bodies were never recovered. The cause of the sinking remains unknown and controversial. Some possible theories include structural failure due to stress or fatigue cracks in the hull, flooding due to faulty hatch covers or damaged valves, rogue waves that overwhelmed the ship, or grounding on an underwater shoal that ripped open its bottom. The Edmund Fitzgerald shipwreck has inspired many songs, books, documentaries, artworks, memorials, and investigations over the years. It has also become a symbol of respect and remembrance for the sailors who lost their lives on the Great Lakes. 5. The San Jose. The San Jose was a Spanish galleon that sank in 1708 off the coast of Cartagena, Colombia, during a naval battle with the British. It was part of a fleet that was carrying a fortune in gold, silver, and jewels from the colonies to Spain. The treasure was intended to finance the War of Spanish Succession, a conflict that pitted Spain and France against a coalition of European powers led by England. The San Jose had 62 cannons and about 600 crew members and passengers on board when it encountered 4 British warships near Baru Island. The British attacked the Spanish fleet, hoping to capture or destroy their valuable cargo. The San Jose fought back fiercely, but after several hours of intense combat, it suffered a fatal blow. A cannonball hit its powder magazine, causing a massive explosion that ripped the ship apart and sent it to the bottom of the sea. The exact location of the wreck remained a mystery for centuries, despite many attempts by treasure hunters and explorers to find it. Some claim to have discovered the site, but none could prove it conclusively. The Colombian government declared the area a protected zone in 1984 and banned any unauthorized salvage operations. In 2015, after years of research and exploration, a joint team of Colombian and international experts announced that they had finally located the San Jose using advanced sonar technology. They revealed stunning images of the ship's remains, including its cannons, anchors, and ceramic vessels. They estimated that the value of the treasure could be as much as $20 billion, making it one of the richest shipwrecks ever found. However, the discovery also sparked a legal battle over who owns the rights to the sunken treasure. The Colombian government claimed full sovereignty over the wreck and planned to recover some of the artifacts for display in a museum. But Sea Search Armada, SSA, a US-based salvage company, argued that it had already found the San Jose in 1981 and had signed an agreement with Colombia to share 50% of any recovered treasure. Spain also intervened, saying that it had historical and cultural ties to the ship as part of its maritime heritage. The dispute is ongoing as of 2023, with no clear resolution in sight. Meanwhile, the San Jose remains submerged in its watery grave, guarding its secrets and treasures for more than 3 centuries. Who do you think has the rights to the treasure on board the sunken San Jose? Tell us in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. 4. The White Ship. The White Ship shipwreck is one of the most consequential and tragic events in medieval English history. It occurred on November 25, 1120, when a royal vessel sank in the English Channel, killing the only legitimate son and heir of King Henry I and many other members of the nobility. The White Ship was a new and fast vessel that was built in Normandy and painted white. It was offered by its owner, Thomas Fitzstephen, to King Henry I as a gift and a means of transport for his return from Normandy to England. Henry I declined the offer, but allowed his son William Adelin and his entourage to board the ship instead. William Adelin was the only surviving legitimate son of Henry I and his designated successor. He was accompanied by his half-brother Richard, his half-sister Matilda, his cousin Stephen of Blois, and many other young nobles and courtiers. The White Ship departed from Barfleur Harbor on the evening of November 25, 1120. It was supposed to follow the king's ship that had left earlier that day. However, the crew and passengers of the White Ship were drunk and reckless. They decided to overtake the king's ship and reach England first. They also neglected to take a pilot on board who knew the local waters. The vessel sailed at full speed in the dark night, but soon hit a submerged rock near Quillebeuf-sur-Seine. The impact tore a large hole in its hull and caused it to sink rapidly. The passengers panicked and tried to escape, but most of them drowned or froze in the cold water. Only 2 people survived, a butcher named Barold, who clung to a floating mast, and Geoffrey de L'Aigle, who swam ashore. The White Ship shipwreck had disastrous consequences for England and Normandy. It left Henry I without an heir and plunged both realms into a succession crisis that lasted for almost 2 decades. It also wiped out a generation of nobles who could have played important roles in politics, culture, and society. 3. The SS Eastland. The SS Eastland was a tragic example of how a well-intentioned safety measure can have unforeseen and disastrous consequences. The ship, which was built in 1903, had a history of stability problems due to its narrow beam, shallow draft, and heavy upper decks. It was prone to listing and rolling, especially when passengers crowded on one side or moved around. In 1915, after the sinking of the Titanic 3 years earlier, a new federal law required all passenger ships to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The SS Eastland, which already had a high center of gravity, was fitted with 6 extra lifeboats and 37 additional rafts. This added more weight and made the ship even more top-heavy. On July 24, 1915, the SS Eastland was chartered by the Western Electric Company to take its employees and their families to a picnic in Michigan City, India. The ship was docked at the Clark Street Bridge on the Chicago River, and more than 2,500 people boarded it eagerly. Many of them were immigrants from Eastern Europe who worked long hours in harsh conditions at the company's Hawthorne Works. As the ship filled up, it began to tilt slightly to port. The crew tried to balance it by admitting water into its ballast tanks, but this only made matters worse. The water sloshed from side to side as the ship listed further and further. Some passengers became alarmed and tried to get off, while others moved to the port side in an attempt to right the ship. At 7:28 a.m., just minutes before it was scheduled to depart, the SS Eastland rolled over onto its side with a loud crash. Many people were trapped inside or under the ship as it lay on its side in only 20 feet, 6 meters of water. Others were thrown into the river or crushed by falling furniture and equipment. Some managed to escape through portholes or windows, or were rescued by nearby boats. The disaster claimed 844 lives, making it one of the worst maritime accidents in American history. Most of the victims were young women and children who could not swim or were weighed down by their clothing. Many families lost multiple members or their sole breadwinners. The cause of the disaster was attributed mainly to the added weight of the lifeboats and rafts, which made the ship unstable. Other factors that contributed were poor design, overcrowding, a faulty ballast system, and human error. No one was ever convicted of criminal negligence for the tragedy. The SS Eastland was later salvaged and sold to the U.S. Navy, where it was converted into a gunboat named USS Wilmot V. It served until 1945, when it was scrapped. The memory of the disaster faded over time as Chicago faced other challenges, such as the Great Depression and World War II. However, some survivors and relatives of the victims kept alive the stories of their lost loved ones. In recent years, there has been renewed interest in the event, with books, documentaries, museums, and memorials honoring those who perished on that fateful day. 2. The SS Kyongya. The SS Kyongya was a Chinese passenger steamship that operated in the late 1940s. During the Chinese Civil War, she was one of the 8 ships owned by the Shanghai Merchants Group and had a capacity of 2,100 tons, 2.1 million kilograms. She was mainly used for transporting refugees and civilians who were fleeing from the communist forces. On December 3rd or 4th, 1948, she left Shanghai's Shilupu dock with an estimated 3,500 to 4,000 passengers on board, heading for Ningpo. However, she never reached her destination. Near the mouth of the Huangpu River, she hit a mine that had been left behind by the Japanese Navy during World War II. The mine exploded and tore apart her stern, causing a massive fire and panic among the passengers. Many people jumped into the freezing water or were trapped inside the burning ship. Some nearby vessels tried to rescue survivors, but they were hampered by darkness, strong currents, and floating debris. The exact number of casualties is unknown, but it is believed that between 2,750 and 3,920 people died in this tragedy. It was one of the worst maritime disasters in peacetime history. The wreck of the SS Kyongya was cleared from the channel in 1956, and her hull was refurbished. She re-entered service under a new name, SS Dongfang Hong 8, meaning East is Red. She continued to operate until 1983, when she was retired due to modernization. 1. The Bachimo. The Bachimo was a cargo ship that belonged to the Hudson's Bay Company. She was built in 1914 and was used for trading furs and other goods along the coast of Alaska and Canada. She was a sturdy ship that could withstand the harsh conditions of the Arctic. However, in 1931, she met her fate when she got stuck in pack ice near Barrow, Alaska. Most of her crew were rescued by planes, but some stayed behind to watch over the ship. They hoped that she would break free when the ice melted, but they were wrong. The Bachimo remained trapped for months, and eventually the crew gave up on her and left. But the Bachimo was not done yet. She somehow managed to escape from the ice and started drifting on her own. For the next 38 years, she became known as the ghost ship of the Arctic. She was spotted by various people at different times and places, sometimes intact, sometimes damaged, sometimes frozen, sometimes floating. Some tried to board her or salvage her, but they failed or were scared away by bad weather or superstition. The last confirmed sighting of the Bachimo was in 1969, when some Inuit hunters saw her near Point Barrow. After that, no one knows what happened to her. Some believe she sank in a storm or crashed into an iceberg. Some believe she's still out there somewhere, wandering among the icebergs like a phantom. Thanks for watching. Which one of these shipwreck disasters do you think could have been avoided? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.